What if the reason you keep losing love, missing opportunities, or sabotaging your own success isn't luck, timing, or the people around you but something hidden deep inside yourself? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds of psychology, believed that most of our suffering comes not from the world, but from the unconscious parts of ourselves we've ignored, rejected, or never understood. These hidden parts quietly shape our thoughts, our reactions, and even our choices, often pushing away the very things we long for the most: intimacy, peace, recognition, or fulfillment. You might think, "I'm just unlucky," or "I'll never find the right person or the right opportunity," but the truth may be far more profound and empowering. Patterns of self-sabotage, recurring failures, or emotional withdrawal are not accidents. They are signals from your inner world, your shadow or your suppressed desires, trying to be noticed. Every argument you pick, every opportunity you abandon, every success you undermine has a hidden logic behind it, a logic rooted in fear, old wounds, or beliefs you inherited without questioning. The first step toward breaking the cycle isn't to force yourself to act differently or chase success blindly. It's to understand why you're acting this way in the first place. Awareness is the key that unlocks change. In this video, we'll explore the reasons we sabotage everything we love, and the exact tools Jung provides to reclaim control, integrate the hidden parts of our psyche, and finally respond consciously instead of reacting unconsciously. And you'll see that what once felt like a curse is actually an invitation to awaken, grow, and reclaim your life with awareness, clarity, and courage. Self-sabotage is often misunderstood as laziness, weakness, or poor decision-making, but from a Jungian perspective, it is far more intricate. It is the unconscious mind quietly guiding your actions, usually in ways that protect you from past pain or unresolved fear. Think about the moments when you've achieved something meaningful, only to back away, make excuses, or criticize yourself. That hesitation, that sudden retreat, is rarely accidental. It is your unconscious script replaying itself, based on deep-seated patterns that were formed long before you were consciously aware of them. Jung divided the psyche into multiple layers: the ego, which is the conscious identity we present to the world; the persona, the mask we wear to meet social expectations; and the unconscious, which contains repressed memories, hidden fears, unacknowledged desires, and unresolved emotional wounds. Most people live in a constant dialogue between the ego and persona, rarely noticing the shadowed unconscious influences that dictate how they react when life gets real. For instance, someone may think they are making a rational choice to leave a relationship or abandon a project, but in reality, the unconscious mind is responding to old fears: fear of rejection, fear of inadequacy, or fear of losing control. These patterns are usually invisible until consciously observed, which is why so many people feel trapped in cycles of repeated mistakes. The key insight is this: self-sabotage is never purely irrational. It is always meaningful, rooted in survival mechanisms created to navigate emotional experiences earlier in life. By learning to identify these hidden forces without judgment, noticing the triggers, and observing recurring behaviors, we begin to bring unconscious scripts to consciousness. Awareness itself disrupts autopilot reactions. When you pause and reflect on the ways you push away success, love, or fulfillment, you start to see a pattern, not a flaw. This insight reframes self-sabotage from a personal failing into a signal from your inner world. The unconscious mind is attempting to communicate something vital, a need, a fear, or a desire that has been suppressed. Recognizing this is the first step toward transformation, because once a pattern is seen, it begins to lose its grip. By understanding the hidden forces driving our choices, we gain the power to respond consciously rather than react unconsciously, turning destructive cycles into opportunities for growth and self-mastery. Beneath every self-sabotaging behavior lies what Jung called the shadow, the parts of ourselves we have rejected, suppressed, or deemed unacceptable. These are not inherently bad traits. Rather, they are aspects of our personality, emotions, or desires that we were unable to fully integrate due to upbringing, societal pressures, or early experiences of trauma. Imagine a child growing up in an environment where only achievement, compliance, or perfection was rewarded. Over time, the feelings of vulnerability, neediness, or anger that didn't fit into that framework were pushed underground. These hidden parts didn't vanish, they merely moved out of conscious awareness, accumulating in the personal unconscious. As adults, these unacknowledged aspects influence behavior in subtle yet powerful ways. You might notice that you withdraw emotionally whenever intimacy arises, sabotage relationships just as they deepen, or feel inexplicable anxiety before a major opportunity. These are shadows in action, expressing themselves through avoidance, overcompensation, or self. One of Jung's most profound insights is that what we resist in ourselves often projects onto others. If someone triggers intense irritation or envy, it is often because they reflect a trait we have denied within ourselves. The shadow contains everything we have disowned: jealousy, fear, longing, suppressed creativity, unexpressed passion, or emotional vulnerability. Shadow work is the process of bringing these hidden elements into consciousness, not to judge, fix, or eliminate them, but to acknowledge and understand them. By journaling, reflecting on triggers, and asking honest questions like, what part of me feels unseen or unsafe? Or which feelings have I been taught are unacceptable? We start to illuminate the shadow. As these hidden forces emerge into awareness, they lose their unconscious power over our decisions and behaviors. Integrating the shadow is not about perfection, it's about wholeness. When the shadow is recognized and accepted, what once manifested as self-sabotage can transform into insight, emotional depth, and authentic creativity. The very traits we feared or suppressed can become sources of strength, guiding us toward choices aligned with our true self rather than automatic patterns of fear. Once the shadow is recognized, the next step is engaging with the inner saboteur, the part of the psyche responsible for undermining what we love or desire. This is where Jung's concept of active imagination becomes a practical tool. Rather than attempting to silence or suppress the inner critic, the goal is to listen and converse with it, understanding its motivations and fears. The saboteur is not an enemy. It is often a misunderstood protector, reacting to unresolved trauma or unmet needs. Consider a scenario where you avoid a promotion, procrastinate on a project, or push a loved one away. The immediate reaction might appear irrational, but beneath it lies a protective mechanism: fear of failure, fear of inadequacy, or fear of rejection. By engaging in dialogue, we give voice to this inner part and understand the logic behind its actions. One practical method is journaling. On one side of the page, write as your conscious self. On the other, allow the saboteur to express freely, whether it's anger, fear, resentment, or pleading. Ask questions like, what are you trying to protect me from? Or, what would happen if I fully embraced this opportunity or relationship? The responses may reveal memories, unmet needs, or old beliefs that have been unconsciously driving behavior. As this dialogue deepens, the saboteur begins to feel heard and acknowledged, reducing its need to act out destructively. Over time, this practice creates a relationship of trust and understanding with one's own inner world. Instead of reacting with self-blame or guilt, you learn to respond with curiosity and compassion. The transformation is subtle but powerful. The inner critic shifts from being a destructive force to a guide, highlighting areas where integration is needed. By befriending the saboteur, you reclaim agency over your choices. Stop repeating destructive patterns, and create space for conscious action. In essence, active engagement with the inner saboteur turns a source of fear and avoidance into an ally for growth, insight, and self-mastery, allowing love, success, and fulfillment to flourish without being unconsciously sabotaged. Carl Jung emphasized that every individual carries within themselves a complementary inner energy. Men have an anima representing emotional depth, intuition, and receptivity, while women have an animus symbolizing assertiveness, logic, and inner strength. These archetypes are not about gender but about the balance of energies necessary for psychological wholeness. When these inner aspects remain unconscious or suppressed, we unconsciously project them onto others, seeking in relationships what we have denied within ourselves. For instance, a man might be drawn to an expressive, intuitive partner because he has suppressed those same qualities in himself. Conversely, a woman might seek a decisive, assertive partner to compensate for an undeveloped inner strength. While these projections initially feel enchanting, they often become sources of tension, disappointment, and unconscious dependence. We begin to expect others to complete us rather than realizing that integration is an inner journey. Jungian integration involves noticing these projections and consciously cultivating the suppressed energies within oneself. This means a man learning to acknowledge and express his sensitivity, vulnerability, or emotional intelligence, while a woman embraces her assertiveness, decisiveness, and independence. Integration doesn't imply perfection, it is about self-completion and balance. Daily practices, such as reflective journaling, meditative inquiry, or conscious exercises in emotional expression and action, help bridge the unconscious with the conscious mind. As these energies are integrated, The pattern of seeking external validation or projecting unmet needs diminishes. Relationships shift from dependency and idealization to authentic connection. You no longer rely on another person to embody traits you've ignored in yourself. Instead, love and collaboration become a meeting of two whole individuals, capable of mutual growth without unconscious sabotage. By embracing and integrating the anima or animus, we reclaim lost parts of ourselves, experience greater inner harmony, and lay the foundation for conscious, fulfilling relationships. True transformation, according to Jung, emerges not from abstract thinking or wishful imagining, but from consistent conscious action. Integration is a daily, deliberate practice where we pause, observe, and respond to life with awareness instead of defaulting to unconscious patterns. Every moment of discomfort, anger, jealousy, fear, or withdrawal is a signal that an old wound or suppressed part of the psyche is being triggered. The practice begins with mindful observation, noticing how you react when love, success, or opportunity arises, without judgment. For example, if you feel the urge to pull away from intimacy, pause and ask, which part of me feels unsafe? What am I trying to protect? This simple shift from reaction to reflection interrupts autopilot behavior and opens the door for conscious choice. Another layer involves emotionally naming and exploring feelings. Anger might reveal unmet boundaries. Jealousy may expose a fear of inadequacy, and fear can point to unresolved trauma. By sitting with these emotions rather than suppressing them, we begin to understand their message and redirect energy toward growth. Journaling, meditation, and structured reflection exercises are practical tools for this process. Over time, these small but deliberate actions accumulate, creating new neural patterns and reinforcing conscious responses instead of unconscious sabotage. Integration also requires experimenting with behaviors that embody the previously denied parts of self, expressing vulnerability, taking initiative, asserting boundaries, or nurturing creative impulses. Each choice strengthens the conscious self and diminishes the control of old patterns. Jung called this process individuation, becoming whole by reclaiming all aspects of the psyche. The result is profound. Self-sabotage decreases, relationships deepen, opportunities are embraced rather than avoided, and a sense of inner wholeness emerges. Conscious habits transform life from reactive survival to intentional living, where each action reflects awareness, presence, and integration. Healing is therefore not a single breakthrough but a series of daily decisions, conversation with oneself that turns old wounds into sources of insight, resilience, and genuine self.